Hello guys, welcome back to another episode of 4K Garage, and this is part 2 of the history of the 4K GT86. Of course, in this little mini-series, kind of bring you up to speed on the history of the car and how I picked it up and the story behind it. It's always had quite the story. I've shared it with people online in project threads and blogs and things like that, but never really brought to YouTube. So I wanted to bring you guys along for that journey, really. Just while the car's off having its wrap and the diffusers being painted, it's just really a case of giving you guys something to watch. So stay tuned. I hope you enjoy. Let's crack into part 2. So finally, here's the last few bits, really. Picked this bumper up used off eBay. I think it was about £140 already red, as you can see. I didn't really feel like buying new parts and having them sprayed, much like the bonnet. I was trying to pick up used panels wherever I could. And one thing that this bumper had was a great big scratch. So after sanding that back, applying some plastic filler and painting it, it came out all right, actually. There was plenty of overspray, but then I later found out that the bumper had clearly had some other scratches in the past that had just been fixed with a bit of touch-up paint. So a bit of overspray I really wasn't too fussed about. Yeah, and the whole car's been in a crash, so who cares? Finally, after months and months of searching, I wasn't able to find a second used front wing, so I had to buy this brand new one from Toyota, and this was already more expensive than the other one that I'd used, and I still had to get it painted. I was able to go to a local paint shop, gave them a chunk of the front bumper, and a couple of £100 later I had a painted wing. But anyone that's ever seen this car in the flesh will know that that front wing has a shocking paint match to the front bumper and to the door, and I've never been pleased with it. But what can you do? It's one of those things, didn't really notice it at the time because I didn't have the car there. I don't care too much. The car has its story, and that's the excuse. Again, not wanting to run front fog lights, made these little carbon fibre blankings. They're all right, glued them in, did the trick, looked all right. So here's the finished article with the front bumper paint. You can see there the area painted was nice and smooth, glossy, and even reflected the ground quite nicely there. Loads of overspray, but that polished all out pretty much. Just when I was finishing up the car, all I had to put on was the front bumper and the front headlights, and I could get it MOT'd, road legal in the UK, and away I went. I found a check engine light, and using my scanner, I was able to find it was another O2 sensor problem. And as you look here closely at these rather grimy images, the wires here on one of the O2 sensors must have become damaged and stripped in the crash. Because it was the loom side of the connector, not the O2 sensor side, I didn't want to have to cut it out and replace it. And I came to the conclusion that this had probably come in contact with the block and short-circuited and blown the fuse. And as you can see here, the fuse was blown. I was able to just kind of use some liquid electrical tape, which I've never used before, but it does a trick. Probably not the best solution, but it did the trick in this case. Replaced the fuse, no more check engine light. As you can see here, got the Valenti headlights on, got the headlights surrounding, and finished up with the front bumper. And I think any of you agree that the transformation from start to finish is it's quite a transformation, really. I think just almost as much as a transformation as it's going to have when I get it back. And of course, the last step was to remove one of these hideous stickers. As much as I love the Fast and Furious franchise, as much as I like Paul Walker, these stickers had to go. It was on the car from the beginning. It is the last thing I wanted to do as a kind of to seal it in his mind. And there we are. Put the old rotor grids on from my old Subaru, fit straight on, being the same bolt pattern. Just made the car look a little bit nicer. Got it tested, and passed the MOT, absolutely no problems at all. Went for its first drive. So that's it. The car was finished. 5 months in one day. Let's say 5 months from start to finish. It's good old fun. So one thing that everyone's always asked ever since I kind of fixed up the car, and while I was fixing up the car, was how much did everything cost? Now, it's something I've never kept secret, so I've always kind of tallied it all up, and here's a rough guide on what it cost me in the end. So the car itself was £4,000. My first bulk of Toyota parts, all those chassis and structural kind of front end pieces you saw, that was an extra £670, including the front crash structure and so on. With the bonnet, of course, you could potentially save some money. I didn't even look at how much a OEM bonnet and paint would be, so maybe I'd be able to save a couple of £100 there. This is something where you can really either save a bit of money. If you were doing this as a track car, you didn't necessarily want airbags, or of course if you're going to make it a race or track car, and therefore you're going to have harnesses, you could save £1,000 right there. The replacement front bumpers, just over £100. Front driver's wing was £85. The passenger wing, including paint, cost me £300. And again, there was a few miscellaneous bits: O2 sensor, rad filler neck, water inlet pipe. That was that kind of aluminium piece. Again, Toyota misc parts number 1, just very plastic clips and so on. Just little bits from Toyota. arch liners, bonnet latch, this pair of cam solenoids, the Valenti headlights, some more Toyota parts, and eventually that steering wheel clock spring. They were all parts that I used to fix the car. And then, of course, there were modifications, the lights, indicators, miscellaneous bits and pieces just to make it how I liked, the exhaust and so on. So with all that said and done, it was around £10,500 in the end, which of course you think about is £4,000 for the car, and about £6,500 to fix it all up. Like I say, you could do it cheaper if you were able to pick up a cheap set of OEM headlights. If you were not to go with airbags, if you wanted a track car, I mean a track car doesn't even need headlights, so again, if you would fit an OEM bonnet, if you were to pick one up second hand, you'd be able to save some money. And then if you wanted to do the modifications that I did, the rear lights and so on, because all those modifications in the end were about £1,200. So I reckon you could easily, if you were to pick up the car for the same price I did and not do a few bits, you could easily fix it up for £9,500, £9,000 or even £8,500. There we have it. At the time, GT86s were still trading for around 12, 13 used. So I think 10.5 for a car under 40,000 miles that is now my own, it has a few modifications done to it. It's not a terrible price to pay. Another thing that was really cool when I got the car completed, to kind of celebrate the completion of the car, one thing that was really special was the GT86 Owners Club actually organised a morning where we would all go down to the Goodwood track, as you can see from these pictures. They hired it out for the morning, and we were able to just go onto the track, use the kind of start finish straight and the podium and the grid and so on to get some really good pictures in a little photo shoot of GT86s. As you can see here, it's something that's in general, getting a picture on the Goodwood straight is limited to a few events, a few car shows and such. But we were actually able to get these pictures as a little group on the start finish straight at the Goodwood track. It was just a really kind of special way to celebrate the completion of the car. And I think you'll agree the pictures came out absolutely fantastic. So after I'd taken it to a couple of car shows, I was even able to take it to a track day. I was able to dig out a video here from my dad in the VX220. We took both cars at the time. Here it was, and it's just such a fun day. The VX220 is such a capable, quick car, easily one of the lightest, and with the power it had in mind, potentially one of the quickest cars you're going to get on a track day. Unfortunately, it's a car that really shows off your limitations as a driver, and the only thing slowing it down is you. Whereas the 86 is totally the opposite. It is limited in power, it is limited in grip, it is limited in it's got a bit of body roll in it in its stock form, but you can push it to 10 tenths, you can push it to 11 tenths, and really just test every kind of limitation the car has, and it's so much fun. There's so much to be said about driving. It's slightly slower, but still very well handling car on track, and it's so much fun. If you have an 86, or if you have anything like that, an MX-5, an RX-8 probably, 350Z, if you've never taken it on track,
just do it!
Was take the car on a drift day. Now, it's something I've always wanted to do. I've never slid a car around really outside of just doing it in snow, and I really wanted to have this rear-wheel drive car, have this car that's pretty good for supposedly pretty good for drifting, to go on a drift day. As you can see here, great fun. I mean, I didn't do a huge amount beyond doing some donuts at figure eights, I must admit, before the day kind of got away with me, but I went for a couple of sets of tyres. Here's some video clips. So in 2019, this is when I started thinking about the next stage of modifications, the next step, preparing the car to one day go wide body. And so I originally actually started looking into a set of coilovers with air cups, just to save a bit of money. And, so I wasn't going to cut any corners when it came to getting good quality coilovers, a set of dual adjustable coilovers at 1,500 quid odd, and air cups. So now, you're looking at 2.5 grand worth of equipment. After having some back and forth conversations with the UK supplier, the US headquarters, and even the Thailand-based manufacturer of one of the biggest entry-level aftermarket coilovers kind of the aftermarket scene these days, they kind of just turned around and told me that they weren't going to honour any warranty if I were to change the spring rate on the units I got with their own springs. I'm not quite sure why that was the case. Didn't really get a good enough explanation from them. But having had a aftermarket coilover totally snap on me in the past, wasn't the risk I was willing to take, and so I just decided to cut my losses and just get air ride. But as well as ordering air ride, I'd also managed to get a sponsorship deal with Whiteline at the time. I'm sure you noticed from stickers on the car, stickers on the toolboxes, and so on. They still support me to this day. And I'm sure you've seen the bits I still have to fit from them, the bits that are currently on the car from them. I was able to deck the whole car out in front and rear anti-roll bars, bushings. It's good. Almost getting to kind of the end of our story really, the air ride setup. So I know this is big in the US, it's not too big in the UK. I wanted to do it all myself. I wanted to not only install air ride, but I wanted to try my hand at doing a proper boot install, or trunk install as the guys in the US would call it. And I'm not super skilled with Word, and I haven't been doing it for years and years and years, so I thought I'd do it myself. Start off with one of the laminate flooring boot floors. And this just made it easy, first of all, it gave me something solid to mount all the gear to, and it was easy to remove it. The side sections are removable still. I can still get to the tools under there, which I eventually got the tank. If anyone's seen this in person, I still think it looks absolutely fantastic. I was able to find a guy locally who sprays bike helmets and so on for a living, and I was able to get him to paint the tank candy apple red. One thing he did, which I really enjoyed, was rather than using a silver base coat, he actually sprayed directly over the spun aluminium with the seamless tank, and that meant the candy apple red looks fantastic, but you can also see the grain of the aluminium through the candy paint. So with that done, I started installing it all, got all the anti-roll bars installed. I did the whole thing, both the front, rear, the whole air install, and all of the other suspension components done at once. Isn't necessarily the best way to go about things. It means you can't really get any kind of back and forth comparison on how the car changes its suspension dynamics and so on. As with everything I installed in the car, took my time with it, wanted it properly, and didn't want to kind of cut any corners or go back to it at a later date. There we go, got all my airlines routed, got them all protected. They're not going to rub through anything, they're not going to get too hot. Run all the way through the car rather than under the car. Here's the tank all ready to go in, with its bands all painted and wrinkled black. Boot set up, taking shape really. So there we have it. As you can see, the build took shape pretty nicely. Came together perfectly and made the car very, very low. So one thing I did have to do was go back to the original wheels. Unfortunately the rotors, if I had kept those on, well, the rotors had to go back on my Subaru, but if I had kept those on, they would have rubbed the airbags and cause them to fail prematurely, which would have been no fun. So there we have it, guys. That is the history, the last 2 years of the 4K GT86. The original purchase of the car, fixing the car, the costs involved with that, then modifying the car, and eventually bringing it up to the stage where we are now. Air ride fitted, Rocco Bunny kit, worked wheels, the rest, as I say, is all history. So there is one big thing that I didn't mention in the history there, which I'll probably get onto in another mini video series, or kind of when I start doing anything with it, and that is engine. I don't want to give too much away, I want to keep it all a bit interesting and exciting still, but I'm not keeping the original engine in the car. I'm not turbocharging it, and I'm not supercharging it, and that's as much as I'll say for now. We're getting onto that probably in the next few months, once the car's finished and in its kind of current final form. We'll start talking about power plans, engine plans, big exciting things coming. So stay tuned as always. Hope you enjoyed. Do that good YouTube stuff as I always say. Like, leave a comment, subscribe. But until next time, have a good one. We'll see you then. Cheers. Bye bye.